Episode 9 of Goosebumps, titled Night of the Living Dummy Part 2. Yes, we're finally at Night of the Living Dummy Part 2. After the previous events that happened in the 8 episodes prior to this, a couple of months go by after the whole Harold Biddle haunting. Everyone goes back to their lives and tries to move on. Nora reconciles with her friends while Colin proposes to her. It's a really nice, touching moment. All the while, we see Margot's mother, Sarah, kind of tell her to live in Seattle for her senior year and leading the kids to go on a weekend trip in this city. While Margot is tempted to stay, Lucas finds it difficult to move on with everything that transpired. And I feel like Lucas is trying to figures things out on his own, especially he's one of those characters that does that. And you can see that over the previous 8 episodes and how close knit every single character was with one another. It's really, really interesting, especially for the character of Lucas. He breaks up with her and in a way, kind of breaks up with Margot and goes to back home. And then, meanwhile, Mr. Bratt writes a book inspired by the recent events. He then sends it to the publisher in New York, who the publisher then says to him, "I don't like the ending. I'm interested in the story, but we need to change it. You need to expand the story of Slappy." So why do you think it's called Night of the Living Dummy Part 2? Once that happens, facing writer's block, and Justin Long is really good in heart, in my opinion. Some don't like him in this role. They say that he's just one dimension, one note. That No, I don't believe that at all. He really puts on an A+ effort for this role, and it really, really shows. So, like I stated, he faces writer's block and pressured by his financial problems that he has after everything that transpired through his character and the events that started with the first episode. He decides to retrieve Slappy's remains and revive him. Let that sink in for a second, just a little second. Um, Once he does that, Slappy kind of proceeds in a way, reanimated demonic version of Brad's deceased poodle, Fifi. So it's a demonic poodle that we didn't expect to see in a Goosebumps episode. Then Slappy in a way tells Brad to retrieve Kondo's coffin, which is buried in the forest nearby the Biddle house. The Biddle house is a really big, prominent setting in this season, and it goes to show that anything's possible, and the events of what's happening happen with this house, and there's such a backstory and history to it. While that's happening, Mr. Bratt reads the spell hidden inside, which frees Kondu's spirit and from the dummy and restores him into human form or human body. Like, how is everything happening? That's all Slappy's doing. It's really, really interesting. Ben, who wanted to confront Brett about the book, kind of arrives at the same time, and then he is turned into a puppet by Kondu. Kondu leaves the Biddle house and walks off into the night. That's Night of the Living Dummy Part 2, Episode 9 of Goosebumps. Really, really laid back, kind of minute episode, which I didn't expect to happen. I thought more would happen in Night of the Living Dummy Part 2, because Night of the Living Dummy Part 1, Episode 6, is probably the best episode of this season so far. And then when you read the episode listings, you're like, Night of the Living Dummy Part 2. What could transpire? What could happen? You knew Slappy was going to be around. You knew he was going to come back. But the aspect of how the process works and how he is the main villain and focus in this is just really crazy and creepy. He's not prominent in the television series at all, in the original television series, and he's not really prominent in the films that stars Jack Black. But in this, when you have Kondu, you have Slappy, it's like, okay, they're taking a different lore and bringing it into today's world with more so of a demon and horror comedy mix and split to it. The horror and comedy aspect is really, really well. Yeah, CGI is a little wonky at times, but it's good to see that this show is really trying and it's done really, really well. Justin Long really moves the story forward, and his characters are really, really great, in my opinion. I like seeing Justin Long in a show or a horror movie for that matter, and just seeing every other character and the teams and how everything came together in episode 8, everyone banded together. And then after the whole aspect of Biddle House, the Biddle haunting, you know, what can Kondu now? Kondu, what can Kondu do now? Okay, try saying that a couple more times fast. It's going to be fun. It's interesting. I mean, one more episode left as of this review that I'm doing. Episode 10 is titled "Welcome to Horrorland." Is it going to follow the book? Maybe, because nothing has followed the book so far with these season and these episodes, which is okay. Some things are in it, some Easter eggs. If you really pay attention, if you've read the books, then it's like, oh, what can happen? That's the point. That it's going to be interesting to see, and seeing how everyone tries to move on, but then still struggle. It's really, really fun. The writing is great, the directing is fun, and it's going to be a phenomenal season finale. I'm hoping this gets picked up for a second season because you have so many books, so many stories you could do. If it's an anthology, great, it could work. If not, don't do it. Try and bring everyone back in a way with different aspects and settings. Then it might just work. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about episode 9 of Goosebumps titled Night of the Living Dummy Part 2. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? What did you think about the aspect of the story, seeing everyone try and move on? Mr. Brat's case of writing a book. How do you think Justin Long is doing in this series? Do you like that Slappy and Kondu are the main villains? Or do you think that someone else is the main villain? And what do you think is going to happen in the season finale of Goosebumps? And do you think it'll be renewed for a second season? Let me know in the comment section below about all the questions I just asked. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new review videos on my channel. I will see you all in the next review video. I'm Mr. Filmstock, and be sure you tune in next week for my season finale review of Goosebumps.